Very good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. And I'd like to first start off with welcoming the elephants into this space, not just saying the elephant in the room. So can I invite you all to actually stand? We'll do a little bit of a experiential. Yeah, can I invite all of you all to stand? Great. Just make sure you've got your space, okay? Put your hands down. Once you've taken your position, you cannot move, okay? Yeah? Great. So just stand, put your hand down and notice what is my comfort level, what's comfortable, yeah? What's my space, okay? Now can you move your hands a little? Little? Yeah? Okay, and just notice what's happening. Now I want you to stretch your hands out fully. No moving, no cheating. Okay? And just notice what happens, right? You're probably sitting with people you know, right? Now you can put your hands down and I want you to squeeze in like you don't have space. If you have to shrink, shrink. Okay? Maybe when you're in a public transport, what happens? Yeah? Now shake it off, shake it. And how would an elephant greet? So maybe you can just look at the person next to you and greet the person. Yeah? Do they shake hands? How do they greet? With their trunk, right? Okay, and you can just sit down. Okay, so now what was this about? We all talk about space, right? So when you were standing like this, right? This is our need, this is our want, and this is our greed. Okay? Now imagine if you were an elephant or any wild being and your space is impinged. When you had to shrink in, how were you feeling? Right? This is the current reality, one of the wild. Second is what we talk about the psychological space. Right? What do we mean by psychological space? Right? Any major event, Olympics is coming, Asian Games is coming, oh, are we going to win? Is that going to happen? What are they going to settle for? And the so-called celebrity status that we follow, right? Where everything is being micro-judged, micro-criticized, right? To ask ourselves what is the need of this environment, right? Can I? So I want to tie it with this image. We all know Airavata, right? Have you all heard of the celestial elephant Airavata? Yes? So there's this wonderful folklore which says that Arjuna created a stairway from earth to heaven to bring down the celestial elephant. Why? Because he wanted his mother, he wanted to appease his mother to be worshipped. What is the indication of this, right? So this is the inner work that we're talking about. We are in a currently doing society, right? Do. An injured athlete or anyone that I'm working with and you ask them what's happening, what are you doing? They will go from the head. Are we also doing the inner work? What do I mean by inner work? Am I integrating my shadow? What aspects needs to be looked into? What is the message that life is giving me? Life is asking of me. Am I paying attention to my dreams? I'll come to it in a bit. The elephants entered my life through dreams, right? And this quote by Campbell, heroes are agents of change, right? We glorify the word hero or heroine as someone who's going to be, we see them when they've achieved, you know, whether you take a Neeraj Chopra, Bindra, a Virat, but their journey has grown much, much beyond and before. Each of us are agents of change, right? And my favorite example is of Dravid. We all know Rahul Dravid, the wall, who's called the wall of Indian cricket. So, you know, he would go in during dire circumstances a lot of time. India is 30 for 4, 40 for 3. So, you know, people would ask him, how do you handle this pressure? Right? And he said, I always look at what is it that I can bring to the team. So for me, I, as a psychologist, right, whether it's in the sports world or elephant world, I'm looking at what is the need that is being asked, being conveyed and communicated by this ecosystem. Is it facilitating? When we say go for gold, are they going to settle for bronze? Is this actually helping? right? So to question yourself. And the turning point of my journey came in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. Do we remember? What was it? COVID year, right? So that was when, unfortunately, a lot of athletes were breaking down, right? Because their routine is so stringent. Paris, Tokyo Olympics got postponed. There was uncertainty in the air. So what started standing out was the dire need for the holistic aspect and integration of the individual. And in that time, I took a very bold decision that I will travel, because I was with RCB that time, in the COVID bio bubble. So it was very bold of me, right? And then you go there, and of course, it's a great team, great, everything was great, but we were in very uncertain times, right? When we first went in during lockdown, and I was going, oh my God, I don't want to die here. I don't want to die in Dubai. So that time the IPL was in Dubai. And the 7 days quadroning, right? I was feeling extremely vulnerable, very, very challenged, and I have to hold the team. It's not the team's role to hold me. I'm the psychologist, right? That was when also I realized what captivity does, right? What we call anthropomorphism, right? Which is a very human-centric view. For our needs, right? For our entertainment, in the name of, be it called entertainment, be it culture, we are removing wild animals, especially elephants, who is the heritage species in our country, from their natural habitat, right? They're supposed to be movers, they're supposed to be walkers. Forests thrive because of them. They're called the ecosystem engineers. And I realized that you can be in a wonderful, wonderful environment, right? But still, you need your connections. And when I was feeling that way, I had this very beautiful dream, right? During that 7 day, what was that called? The quadroning of the sensitization period. So I was in an ancestral home, around 50 elephants, right? 50 plus, right? Each and every one was coming and giving me their trunk, right? That's how they greet each other, That's how they communicate. Everyone, from the young calf to the matriarch to the rest of the elephants. And I woke up feeling my tribe is with me, right? That was the year, and I remember in one of the RCB group sessions, right? I was like, let me integrate this. Maybe I can bring the message of the wild. And that session turned out to be so beautiful, including our own captain and Virat. Many of them were like, this is a lovely session. That was where I also started integrating my worlds. If not, it was like, okay, Chaitanya, there's elephants, there's sports, and then how do you come together, right? What is that uniqueness that you bring in? So that's where 2020 for me was a huge eye-opener. That was also the year I met this one. Can you see the photo on your screen? How long do you think it would have taken me to establish a connection like this? Just a rough number. 1 year, 10 years, 5 years, right? So this was the first meeting, guys, okay? So I met her, and of course we changed the name, and I said, are you Leela, right? And she rumbled, and then it continued. So her, Mahut, the caretaker, was as surprised, right? Because what was she seeking? She was seeking connection. And this became a journey. When I met her the first time, she was in an industrial shed, front and back legs tied. There were dogs, there were hens, chickens. And there's this beautiful being in the prime of her health, prime of her life, right? I call her my little one, but she's really not little. She's around 9 feet, about 9 feet. Prime of her life, right? Do we know what is the background of this particular species? Are they supposed to stay in here? So long story short, we managed to get her out of the institution. And there's a concept of allo mothering, where, the herd takes care of the young infant. So she projected, I became the allo mother there. And as endearing as this sounds, right, it's very heartbreaking, because this young elephant did not know that she's an elephant. She's in the process of becoming an elephant, right? Why is this? Because we suspect she's been captured before 2 years of age, right? This is where our human greed, right? actually overtakes. So we've taken her away. As when I say we, I'm talking of the society. So your socialization skills, your affect regulation, you learn life, right? Your sense of agency comes from your childhood, right? It begins there. So she's now just emerging into an elephant. And that is, I think, also the reason she became, may I say, my inspiration and, my book, everything. Then I started going, how do you get the message across? We all love, how many of us love elephants? The rest of us want to sit on the fence or we don't love, right? So most of us love. But how many of us know what is an elephant? What does this elephant need? I was recently giving a podcast and I was talking about the journey both with elephants and the athletes, and people were like, oh my God, I didn't know the athletes go through so much, right? So to start looking at what can I bring, right? What in me, right? As a psychologist, I may not be an activist, but what's the way I can bring the message across? Be it, here, be it to different sources, and excellence is the way, right? In sports, we have the concept of process and outcome. So every time India goes, go for gold, or I see an athlete saying, I'm going for gold, I'm like, hey Bhagwan, oh my God, right? What you want to be focusing, think about yourself. When your exams, you're writing your exam, you're not going to be thinking, I need to get 95%. You put that intention, you put your long-term goal out much, much earlier, right? So focus on excellence. I guess, maybe that is why, Rahul Dravid happens to be my favorite, because in sports, we always say there is no failure. It's a learning. If you don't learn, then we don't grow. And I also want to bring in the example of Salu Marada Timmaka, our very own, lady who got the highest award. So she was married off very young and lost her husband, no children, and she decided to plant trees. Salu Marada in Kannada means, like lines of trees. I'm sure you'll have all heard of her. She got the award recently. And she grew, green spaces, and she like, these are my kids. So as we're talking, I want you all to ponder on what in me is coming up, what's stirring in me, right? Elephants and nature have been a part of my life growing up, right? What is it growing up for you? Right? What's coming up? Start, the choices you make. You can walk away going, this is not my cup of tea. Or you can go, okay, how do I spread the message? How can I be compassionate? Right? And consistently work. I started going to see the elephants, on weekends. People thought I was mad. They're like, what are you getting? What I get, I think, is so much more than any money or anything else that can possibly come. And I want to bring in the story of the Lantana elephants. How many of us have heard of Lantana elephants? Anyone here? Okay, so Lantana is an invasive weed, right? Which eats up the forest. And what you see the image over there is, these are elephants which are made of Lantana by local artisans, right? And every elephant has a wild counterpart, okay? And so interestingly, it's getting finance, it's removing the weed which eats up forest, and these elephants roam the world. I'm sure it would come into your city and your places, spreading the message of coexistence. We are currently in a conflict space. Every other day you hear narratives of, oh my God, this elephant came, rogue elephant, do we question? So if we can start asking the right questions, right? In psychology, we always say the right questions bring you the right answers. And sometimes the answers need cooking, right? I don't like to use the word difficult, but right questions. So when you can start asking that, you make choices, you sit with the discomfort, right? Because growth, change is not easy. But that's also where the potential is, right? Each and every one of us here have that potential. If you had asked me when I started my journey, when I was, probably a young student like you all, or in my master's, which I was, which started with clinical, and I wanted to be in a close place, quiet environment, but constantly life kept asking me to stand up for sports, for well-being of athletes, the sporting ecosystem, and now the elephants. So my question to you all is, what is that one step that you can take, start pondering on, so that each one can sow that seed, right? And each of us here can be a change maker. And on that note, can I request you all to please play the video, which is something that we did during the the Dasra camp in Karnataka with the children. We wanted to work with the children. Yeah? Can we play the video, please? महक जाऊं मैं आज तो ऐसे फूल बगिया में महके हैं जैसे बादलों की मैं ओढ़ूं चुनरिया झूम जाऊं मैं बनके बावरिया अपनी चोटी में बांध लूं On that note, I think I'm very much on time. So my question to you all is, what moves you? What touches you? What inspires you? Right? Start pondering on that with curiosity. Open yourself to the messages which are coming to you. Right? Like I said, my messages first started coming via dreams with elephants. I started having repetitive dreams till I finally acknowledged my journey. So as a child, what were you drawn to? Right? For me, I was called this wild child, right? I loved being with nature, running around. And that has come back. That love has come back. I now balance two professions, but which has started integrating well, right? Which started with RCB, and then I did the IIT Madras course, and started integrating, and then people started calling me the elephant psychologist or as the elephant woman. So I'm going to finally conclude it with Jane Goodall's quote on each one of us is having an impact and influence, right? What kind of impact and influence do you want? Because all of us here, every single one of us have the potential to be an agent of change and be heroes or heroines. Thank you so much.